when most children were learning their ABCs and riding bikes in the driveway. Tansy Aspinall was learning how to walk with a gorilla gently holding her hand. She wasn't raised in an ordinary neighborhood. She grew up inside Howlett's Wild Animal Park in the English countryside. Her backyard wasn't filled with swing sets or sandboxes, but with the soft grunts of gorillas, the distant roar of tigers, and the quiet footsteps of zebras passing by. Her father, Damien Aspinall, was no ordinary man either. He was a passionate conservationist, a man who believed wild animals didn't belong in cages, but in the world they were born to roam, and from the very beginning. Tansy wasn't just watching, she was living it. She played where gorillas rested. She napped under the same trees they climbed. They were her friends, her family, not pets, not exhibits, living beings who trusted her and whom she trusted in return. It's hard to explain this kind of childhood to someone who's never seen a gorilla up close, much less shared a laugh with one. But to Tansy, it was all she'd ever known, a life full of wonder, closeness, and the quiet belief that we, humans and animals, might just belong to the same world after all. Tansy's world was shaped not just by animals, but by her father's unwavering belief in something bigger. Damien Aspinall didn't raise his daughter to admire nature from afar. He brought her into it. He believed children should grow up close to the wild to understand it, to love it, and to fight for it. So while other kids were learning fairy tales, Tansy was learning real stories of survival, healing, and second chances. Damien taught her that every animal deserved a future not behind bars, but beneath the open sky. He filmed her childhood with the gorillas, not for fame, but to share a truth that compassion, not fear, should guide how we live with the wild. And Tansy, she wasn't just growing up in the reserve, she was growing into her purpose. But even the most magical childhood must face its turning point, when Tansy was just 11. She overheard a quiet conversation that changed everything. Jalta and Bims, her closest companions, were being prepared for release into the wild. It was the dream her father had always worked toward, but for Tansy, it felt like losing a piece of her soul. Still, she understood. The jungle was their true home, not fences, not enclosures. On the morning they left, Tansy stayed close, whispering softly through the bars, trying to be brave. Jalta touched her hair, as if to say goodbye, and Bims gave one last look that stayed with her for years. She waved until the trucks disappeared, then stood in silence, heart aching but proud. Life moved forward, but Tansy carried the past with her. After saying goodbye to Jalta and Bims, she poured her heart into learning everything about conservation. She studied wildlife biology, traveled to field sites, and spent long nights watching footage of the animals she loved. But no matter where she went, the memory of that final wave and the warmth of a gorilla's hand never left her. She wasn't chasing a childhood memory, she was following a calling. Her father had passed down more than a mission, he had given her a purpose. To be a bridge between two worlds, to speak for the wild, and remind people that behind every pair of eyes, whether human or animal, there's a soul worth protecting. And Tansy. She never stopped believing. 12 years had passed, but Tansy never forgot. Not the feel of Bims's hand, not the way Jalta watched over her like a gentle guardian. At 23, with memories still alive in her heart, Tansy made a bold decision to return to the jungle. This wasn't a childhood dream, it was a mission, with a team of biologists and filmmakers. She set out on an expedition to track the very gorillas she once called family. They followed radio signals from old tracking collars, moving deeper into the thick green wild. Every sound, every scent, brought her closer to the past. But this time, she wasn't a child. She was a woman ready to face what she might find or not find in the jungle. And in her heart, hope burned quietly but fiercely. Then, one rainy afternoon, the jungle whispered something back. Tansy and her team had been searching for days, guided by fading signals and quiet hope. And suddenly, there he was, from the thick brush. A massive silverback emerged, his eyes steady, his movements calm, but familiar. Tansy froze. Then she whispered, "Bims." The name hung in the humid air. The gorilla tilted his head, watching her, silent, still. A moment stretched like forever. Then he stepped forward. Her heart pounded. Was it recognition or instinct? Tansy took one step closer, then another. No sudden moves, no fear, just trust. And then he reached out, a hand, a memory, a bridge between two worlds. Tansy let out a breath she didn't know she was holding, and gently, quietly, they embraced. Not like strangers, not like a researcher and a wild animal, but like old friends, who had waited 12 years for this very moment. Around them, the cameras rolled. But in that embrace there were no lenses, no science, no crowd, just a girl and a gorilla, remembering each other. As the rain cleared, Tansy stayed back quietly, watching from a distance. There was Bims, no longer the playful youngster she once knew, but a strong, confident leader. He moved with quiet power, guiding his family through the forest, tending to them with care and calm authority. It was clear Bims hadn't just survived the wild, he had thrived in it. And in that moment, Tansy felt something deeper than pride. She saw the purpose behind every sacrifice, every tear shed so many years ago. This was more than reunion. It was proof that love and trust could carry even Wildhearts home. As the sun dipped low, Tansy knew it was time. One last goodbye, but this time, there were no tears, just quiet gratitude and a full heart. She stepped forward, whispered a soft farewell, and placed her hand over her heart. Bims watched her, then gave a final, gentle look as if he understood. No words, no dramatic exit. He simply turned and walked back into the forest, disappearing into the life he now belonged to. And Tansy stood still, not with sorrow, but with peace. Because sometimes, the most beautiful endings are the ones that feel complete. Tansy returned from the jungle changed, not just moved, but transformed. The reunion with Bims wasn't just personal. It was a reminder that real connection between humans and wild animals is possible, not through force, but through love, respect, and time. Back home, the footage of their embrace spread across the world. Millions watched a gorilla gently hug a girl he hadn't seen in over a decade and recognized her. The story touched hearts, sparked conversations, and reignited hope. Tansy felt a deeper sense of purpose than ever before. She wasn't just following in her father's footsteps, she was blazing her own path. A path where compassion leads, where science and emotion walk hand in hand, where we protect not just species, but the bonds that unite us. Because what happened between Tansy and Bims wasn't a miracle. It was proof that when we choose to care, nature responds. And sometimes, when we reach out with kindness, the wild reaches back.